Hi, this is Rahul, and welcome to Sportingly Positive. In this episode, we have an Olympian guest, Roald Bradstock, who has been a two-time Olympian representing Great Britain in Los Angeles 1984 and Seoul 1988 games in javelin throw. Apart from being among the top international javelin throwers in the world, he is an artist and also known as Olympic Picasso. Well, he is a very colorful figure in the cultural side of the Olympic Games. He was in the Cultural Heritage Commission of the International Olympic Committee, holds a chair in the World Olympians Association, and is an executive director of the Art of Olympians. Before we speak to Olympic Picasso, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon of Time Out Talkies. We bring in great stories from the world of sport, highlighting the positive values which we learn from sports. Hi, Roel, and welcome to Sportingly Positive. So, how are you?
I'm doing good, Raoul. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. So, Roel, you have been an international level javelin player, but I heard that you had a habit of throwing things around you as a kid. Am I right?
Yes, I grew up. I just loved throwing stones, snowballs, apples, anything that I could pick up off the ground, and I just loved the idea of throwing. And so I just continue today. I mean, I'm 61 now and still throwing things.
So, as a child, you used to throw them very far. I mean, was it an exceptional talent that you had?
We'll put it this way: when we had snowball fights, everyone ran away from me. When I was very young, and just because I had a good arm, and I was also very accurate. So yes, I mean, I was just going to be a good javelin thrower. You need to have an arm, but then you need to be a really good javelin thrower at international level. You need to learn how to use the rest of your body, and that's a challenge for a lot of people.
Right, I was just coming to that. So, when did you realize that you had potential to throw javelin at an international level, or like you have the talent for that?
Well, I knew I wanted to be a javelin thrower in the Olympics in 1968. I was watching the Mexico Olympics on a little black and white TV. So that's when my desire started, my journey, if you will. And then I think when I knew I could really make it was probably in 1980, when I was 18. And I realized then that I had the ability to get to the senior level. And the following year, I threw 83 meters. So,
and how old you were in 1968 when the Olympic was happening?
6.
Wow, so a 6 years old boy dreaming of becoming an Olympian, and then he lives up to his dream and goes to the Olympics. Wow, that's great. I would say very inspiring story, a success story. In 84, you were in Olympics. So at the age of 22, I guess, you played the Olympics?
Yeah.
So tell us something about your Olympic experience and how being an Olympian changed your life.
Well, to me, again, going back to when I first saw the Olympics in '68, I was just amazed by, I could feel the excitement and energy, even those little tiny black and white television sets, seeing the crowds and seeing the athletes performing. And to me, it's I equate basically being an athlete to being an actor, being on stage or on film, whatever, in front of an audience, or a musician or singer, or just the kind of. To me, it's that. When I made back in the early '80s, there was the movie Chariots of Fire. You remember that kind of haunting music they had, and I remember walking out into the tunnel into the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and I could it was exactly like the movie. Everything was in slow motion, and I could hear that kind of haunting music from Chariots of Fire. But again, to me, it was a lifetime experience. I was 22 years old. It was also kind of a turning point in my life where, I'd been in America by that time for 3 years. I've been on scholarship in university. I knew all the other throwers. I knew the officials. I've been in this country for 3 years, and I was the first Brit to qualify, male javelin thrower to qualify for the men's javelin final. 2 days later, had the final, and I just was flat. I couldn't get excited. I don't know. I had no motivation, and I think that the lesson I learned was that all the challenges I had growing up was, people just doubted that I could even make the get to the Olympic level. And so to me, my goal was to become an Olympian. And when I got to the final, it was just, I had to kind of do a reset on the spot to try and, think about, medaling or winning, which I was capable of. So from that point on, I learned that, you can never aim too high, and, you may never get there, but to me, it's, I've just learned to really push the envelope physically and now artistically and everything I do, to the limit, and just to kind of, I may not make it, but to me, it's much better to aim higher, as high as you can, than to aim too low.
You again played in the 1988 Olympics, right?
Yes. So in '84, I was actually injured, but I still made the final. And in '88, I actually was sick. I didn't realize how sick until it was about 3-4 months later that I started feeling better. But yeah, in '88, I didn't make the final. People rise and fall, and kind of one of those things where we can quantify so many things, right? Where we can measure, strength and speed and agility and flexibility, but how do you measure competitiveness? Right, with people like El Urta, a great discus thrower, where 4-time consecutive Olympic champion in discus, and never once was he favoured to win. He just rose to the occasion each time, and that's to me what's really, really inspiring, is seeing the people that are underestimated and that come through again and again, especially.
Absolutely. So, and after that, you have been an active athlete till the age of 50. But in the later stage of your career, you became an icon in the cultural side of the Olympics. And the media famously called you Olympic Picasso. So why don't you tell us something about it?
Well, this already goes back to 99, 2000, so almost 25 years ago. Actually 25 years ago, when I created my first ring painting called Struggle for Perfection. Mm-hmm. And again, this is where the powers to me is just, visualization and just believing in yourself. And so in 98, so 25 years ago, I created this painting. And while I'm creating it, I'm visualizing it hanging in the Olympic Museum. And, made no sense, but that's just what I did. There was no way of getting it there. There was no competition. I had no context whatsoever. A year later, it just turned out that the United States Sports Academy in Mobile, Alabama, here in the US, in conjunction with the United States Olympic Committee, put together a sport art competition. And I entered literally within minutes. I mean, they extended the deadline for a day or two for me to get in. I submitted my artwork, and that was the painting they picked. And then I drove it down to Alabama. I live in Atlanta. They took it to the academy. They packed it up and shipped it to Lausanne, and it was on display at the Olympic Museum in Lausanne at the IOC headquarters. Mm-hmm. as part of international exhibition and competition for the Sydney Olympics. And so I ended up becoming an Olympic artist representing the US. And then 2006, when London got the bid to host the 2012 Games, I flew over back to London and was pitching ideas to LOCOG, London Organising Committee of the 2012 Games, about how to use imagery to promote sport and art and the Olympics and Paralympics. And the BBC heard about it, and they got a lot of coverage. And it was from that moment on where I became known as the Olympic Picasso, and it's stuck.
So BBC first named you Olympic Picasso.
Yes.
Right. So now you hold a chair in the World Olympic Association, and you are also member of IOC's Cultural Heritage Commission, and you are among the core artists of Olympic art, which was kind of re-established in the 2018 Winter Olympics. So tell us more about the vision of the cultural side of Olympic, which IOC has.
Okay, so really the concept is to create a platform for creative Olympians and Paralympians, to anything that can be creative, and also at all levels. So it's not just about professional artists or professionally trained artists. But really the idea is to create a community and a platform for programs and projects going forward, to still be involved with the Olympic movement in another arena. But also, to me, I think it's very important to create a platform, to show that there is more than one side to an athlete. And I've worked with the British government leading up to 2012. I did sport art workshops for 5-6 years all around the country, and I wasn't promoting sport or art necessarily. What I was talking about was my two passions that I managed to combine, and about really promoting the Olympic values, right? About friendship, respect, excellence, but about following your passion. But I've also made things happen by sheer tenacity and just working and just pushing and pushing. Like I said, going back to '84, I look at it as my career as an athlete prepared me for my career as an artist. As an athlete, you always fail. There's no way to reach the top without failing. It's just part of the process. To me, it's about, what excites me is being part of something that's now becoming part of the Olympic movement going forward. We've been now, I've led 3 Olympic artist in residence programs in Pyeongchang, in Tokyo, and Beijing. So to me, we want to build that community. And find those Olympians and Paralympians that are involved in the arts, and encourage them to show their creativity in another way.
And how big is the community right now?
I would guess it's probably around a little over 100.
Right. And is this only limited to fine arts, or it's beyond fine arts? Any kind of art?
Yeah, any kind of format really that I think is open to expression. So to me, it can be graphic design, to singing, dancing, writing, photography, sculpture, and again, painting, printmaking.
Right. So if any Olympian or any Paralympian, and if they have some kind of talent, artistic talent, so where do they have to contact, or how they will kind of let IOC know that they have this kind of artistic talent?
Well, so the Athlete 365, which is the IOC Olympic entity, that they have announcements and calls for artists. They had one in conjunction with the Olympic Museum, Olympic Culture Foundation, Culture and Heritage. So they put out calls for artists. The last one was for people that want to be potentially involved in projects, Paris or around Paris next year. So yeah, so they also contact the World Olympians Association.
Okay.
So there's ways to do that.
Right. Thank you so much for highlighting this. And do you have any message for our Sportingly Positive viewers? This is a channel actually created to highlight the values of sports and the positivity of sports.
Well, I would say, I mean, as far as, to me, it's, mind, body, and spirit, right? Where it's, I think sometimes when we're athletes and there's too much or total focus on the physical side. And to me, it's getting back to Olympic values. It's not just, the end justify the means and just winning at all costs, right? To me, it's going back to Peter Coubertin, the founder of the modern Olympics. It's about, taking part. It's about, doing your best as an athlete, as an artist, whatever, doing stuff in life. Both my athletic and artistic sides are very, very all-consuming. I'm very passionate about it, and just I want to give what I'm doing 100% and really embrace the journey, because you may never get there, and that's, at the end of the day, is like, but the key thing is do your best and just
the joy of effort.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much, Roald, for speaking to Sportingly Positive at Time Out Talkies. And I must tell you that you have been a true inspiration in the Olympic world and in the sporting world. Just stay healthy and keep inspiring all of us. Thank you,
Rahul. I really appreciate it.
We hope you like the story of Roald Bradstock, the Olympic Picasso. If you happen to have a sports story or know about a story that can highlight the values and positivity of sport, please send it to us at timeouttalkies@gmail.com. We will storytell it on your behalf. Keep following Sportingly Positive at Time Out Talkies. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon and stay updated. Till then, see you at the next story.